Today, we're going to look at a very specific tense, the past perfect continuous. We're going to look at everything step by step. There is going to be a lot of information, so I put together an easy peasy PDF for you to download and review. Watch this lesson, download your notes, and then give me some of your examples in the comments. I really love hearing from you. Well, it's time to start. My name's Arnel. Grammatical structure. Subject had been verb ing. The good news is that all subjects have the same form. That's easy. I had been scrolling. And you know, scrolling is when you look through your phone like that. You had been waiting. He, she, it had been playing. Let's sound natural and contract. We'd been planning. They'd been arguing. When people argue, they have a fight with their words. Argue. Argue. How do we form the negative? Simple. We just add not. I had not been scrolling. You had not been waiting. He, she, it had not been playing. How can we sound natural? We contract that negative. We hadn't been planning. They hadn't been arguing. Question form. Had begins your question. Had I been scrolling? Had you been waiting? Had he been playing? Etc. Now I want you to review these structures. I have 4 sentences here. Let's do the first one together. Natalie had been spying on us. Spy means to watch someone and they don't know. Natalie hadn't been spying on us. Had Natalie been spying on us? Pause the lesson and I want you to complete the next 3. I'd been sleeping. I hadn't been sleeping. Had I been sleeping? The clock had been ticking. The clock hadn't been ticking. Had the clock been ticking? Jean had been reading. Jean hadn't been reading. Had Jean been reading? I think you got this. Grammar basics done. Let's move on to why we use a past perfect continuous. Okay, you know what? Sorry, I have to start with the past perfect simple first. If you have not watched my lesson on the past perfect, do that before you continue with this lesson. We congratulated Scott because he'd done well on his test. I said sorry because I'd called Joyce the wrong name. I thought her name was Joy. Oops. You know, the past perfect tells an action was done before another past action. Let's try the past perfect continuous. We congratulated Scott because he'd been doing well on his tests. I said sorry because I'd been calling Joyce the wrong name. That's kind of embarrassing. Past perfect, a single past action. Past perfect continuous, repeated actions. Again, for both of these, before something else. Notice how I also changed test to tests to make things consistent. Okay, this is it. There we go. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, we are not done, but with this information, you are 90% there. Really. Let's compare. I have two sets of sentences. Which sentence in each pair is the most natural? Pause the lesson to do this. In the first set, the second option is correct. I mean, you can't gain weight if you eat ice cream one time. In the second set, the first option is correct. A match cannot end again and again. It's a one-time action. So with grammar, rules are good, but many times it's just logic, like with these sentences here. I'll keep this basic rule at the top so you can always look back. Past perfect single, past perfect continuous, repeated. Past perfect focuses on a completed action. Past perfect continuous focuses on the activity or duration. Duration means how long something lasts. I was tired because I had walked 10 kilometers. I was tired because I had been walking for 3 hours. Technically, if you walk 10 kilometers, this can take you 3 hours. These sentences mean the same thing. But what are you emphasizing? The past perfect emphasizes a completion, and the past perfect continuous really wants you to feel that duration for 3 hours. Many times with the past perfect continuous, there is evidence of this continuous action. If the past perfect continuous were a person, he'd be the detective. Okay, a man was killed. What had been happening before this? Where had the man been going? Who had been following him? Had someone been planning this? The detective wants all the information before the crime. He needs that evidence. With the past perfect continuous, there is usually some evidence. My daughter's hands were dirty because she'd been playing in a sandbox. Evidence? Dirty hands. When I got to work, it was clear that Ilania and Jude had been arguing. Evidence? The look on their faces. Oh, the mood in the office. We don't know why he quit his job. He'd been doing so well. Evidence? Good sales. He seemed happy. Tense tip. Because the past perfect continuous often focuses on duration, it's a good way to show emotion, frustration, anger. It can also be positive, like pride. Pride is a noun form for proud. Frustration. I quit going to my book club. Why is that? Well, I'd been going there for months and the teacher never remembered my name. I didn't feel welcome. You can feel that frustration, that exhaustion, anger. I finally had to write a bad review. I'd been politely asking for my money back for months and the company never responded. Pride. The teacher knew how hard the students had been working on the project, and when her class won first prize, she bought them all pizza. In this last example, we can see the order of the actions. You can see the past perfect continuous really makes it clear when the action happened. Why is this important? Because I often have students ask me this question. For 10 years. And then they give me some options. Which option is correct? Well, they are all possible. You cannot choose a tense without context. That's so important. I'd been using the pink toothbrush for days before I noticed that it was actually my aunt's. Ugh. But this looks like the past perfect timeline. Getting reading glasses was hard for me because I'd always had perfect vision. It's the same timeline for past perfect situations. Both of these examples show an action started in the past and continues up to another past point. So what's the difference? Past perfect for situations. In grammar, we often say states. Past perfect continuous, an action or activity over a period of time. Having perfect vision isn't an action, it's a state. You have perfect vision or you don't. Using someone else's toothbrush is an action. You can do it again and again. I asked Rick for advice because he'd been a teacher for over 20 years. It was clear Sophia hadn't been working, but sleeping. She had sleep in her eyes. Sleep can be used to describe that yellow stuff you get in your eyes. So she had sleep in her eyes. Evidence. Both of these show us that something continued up to another past point. Use a past perfect for states and the past perfect continuous for actions. If you've been watching my series on the tenses, you know we do not use stative verbs in continuous tenses. I had been knowing, she had been believing, they had been being married. I had known, she had believed, they had been married. If you want more information on stative verbs, I explain them in much more detail in the present continuous part of this series. Last thing in today's lesson, I promise. You know, things like work, study, and live are action verbs. These are not stative verbs. But because these verbs are usually done over a period of time, they kind of feel like states. They feel like situations. So it's very common to use perfect and perfect continuous tenses interchangeably with these three verbs here. I felt confident because I had studied, because I had been studying. Here, both are the same, they're fine. By the time I joined the company, Liz had worked. Liz had been working here for over 8 years. The feeling is the same. I knew everything about Bristol because I had lived. I had been living there my whole life. All good. So, get your PDF. The link is in the video description. Review it and then write me a couple of example sentences in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you very soon. Bye.